Shalom party people, and welcome to the 12th C. It is December 14, 2022, day 74 of 75 hard. Oh, let's see. I was 5:20 at the time of my run this morning. I did 3 miles in 24. Yeah, it was under 25, but it was like 24 and change. There was a slight potty break that I had that still counted towards that total time. So I'm relatively confident that I can give it everything I've got tomorrow and see where it goes. Now, I obviously in my initial goal of consistently breaking 21 has not happened, and I don't expect it to be a consistent breaking of 21 in one more day to go, but it's still a good goal to shoot for. Depending on weather conditions and lighting, I may shoot my video early tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. It may be very, very late tomorrow night that I do my 75th video. I do want to do a debrief to where I just break down over the month over the 75 days, how things went, with a summary of, you know, my successes and failures in that. This has still definitely been 75, maybe medium in all honesty, just because it has not been a full out everything, you know, excuses or lies, and I'm not going to make excuses. So it is what it is at this point. I did do some walking and stretching. All in all, just trucking along as best I can. And I say that a lot for some reason. I don't know why. But I will also do an update video on my intentions for 2023. I'll go into more detail on the plan for 4 cycles of 75 hard and the fitness challenges that I will include in all of that to help the year go by. 2023 is going to be a year of investing in my conditioning. I want to be as able to respond to things that happen as possible. I would love to do some training classes. I would love to do some, you know, obstacle course races and things where I really push myself to do everything that I can. I want to include alternate forms of training, not just, you know, cardio and strength training. I want to do other things. I have done rucking before, and I intend to throw some weight in a bag and go, and I'll go further into detail on those kind of things probably in a few days. After my debrief video and my video announcing my plans for 2023, I will be taking a brief hiatus, and that hiatus will be just for me to rest. I will also be going through and fixing the thumbnails in my videos and doing tags and timestamps in hopes that that can increase a little bit of viewer count. Go ahead and do me a favor. If you are not subscribed already, please subscribe. I would like to grow this channel. I've said from the beginning that I'll be tickled pink if I can ever put money in my pocket from it. But I'm not heart set on those kind of things. Would it be nice to make money from this? Of course it would, but that's not the end goal. The end goal is just to improve conditioning in myself, and then if other people can benefit from this too, that would be wonderful. Let's see. I skipped breakfast again today. Did my photo, my gallon, my weigh-in at 198 even. I had some more of that barbecue mac and cheese and peas. I had some sugar-free chips and pretzels, an apple, spinach, and carrots as well. For dinner, I will probably have some leftover creamy chicken and carrots. I may have some leftover mac and cheese with that. And then let's see. I have done Genesis 27 through 39. Yeah, 27 through 39 to continue working my way through Genesis, and should be able to finish that in the morning. And then I have been working my way still through Resistance Operating Concepts. I will not finish Resistance Operating Concepts before the end of 75 hard, although I do intend to continue reading. Today's reading covered nonviolent protests, And, you know, my honest thoughts, I don't have a lot of personal anecdotes behind nonviolent protests, but what I can say is, in my experience, the best protests hit the people who are being protested against at their wallets. There was a situation, more than 10 years ago now, where a kid I went to school with, he jumped in the school pond, and if you want to go research it, it's called Freebird. He hopped in the school pond while we were doing a rendition of Canterbury Tales, where all of the high school seniors dressed up as characters from Canterbury Tales and walked around the school and recited different lyrics from Chaucer's poem. And it's really more of an epic, in all honesty, and less of a poem. But while the whole senior body was reciting the introduction in Middle English of Canterbury Tales, which don't ask me to recite it again because I don't remember it all, but I remember the concepts behind it. That the pilgrims would go from England to Canterbury, and they were going to see an old saint's bones. But this dude decided he was just going to goof off, and he jumped in the pond while he was doing it. And I was actually in the class after all of this happened, because he didn't get caught right away since it was such a big group. I was actually in the class after it happened, when the administration called him up, and the only way they caught him was some cell phone video that made it onto Facebook very quickly after that happened. I was standing not too far from where he was, and I did see him go in, and I saw him come out. There weren't a ton of people who actually saw it happen. Less than 50 people probably saw the entire event happen, but a lot of people saw him coming out of the pond, and he just kind of hid in the crowd. And he got suspended from school for like a long time, and he got charged with disturbing the peace and a few other things. And it disrupted the entire school day because everybody was talking about it. And my protest behind it was, we had a kid do something dumb, and he's famous for it. He's got to go to all the reunions now because everybody's going to remember it. It got a full page spread in the yearbook. Like, it just, it was what it was. And admin decided to suspend him and have him charged with disturbing the peace, which is a really low ticket. It's no big deal. My complaint is there were kids that day that were caught with illegal narcotics, and it wasn't just they were, doing stupid stuff, being young kids smoking in the bathroom or whatever, smoking in the boys' room, or whatever. They were actually like distributing hard narcotics at school that day, and they were not punished. That is something that really infuriated me, because we had somebody who ultimately did something that was completely harmless, and the worst thing possible is it disrupted one school day, which, let's face it, a lot of time in public schools is purposely wasted, and that's just a fact of life. And a couple of kids who were legitimately causing harm, like, didn't even get a slap on the wrist. So that to me is where my protest was, that it was not a fair treatment. And I wasn't truly disappointed with the guy getting suspended and cited with a fine. I thought it was a little harsh, but it was like, yeah, you got to punish him somehow, because he did something he shouldn't have done, and you don't want to encourage other people to do the same thing. So you got to slap him on the wrist at the very least, if not, maybe a little bit harder than just a true slap on the wrist. But you didn't give equal punishment to the people who legitimately were causing harm to other people, because I want to say one of those two people was caught with heroin. And like I said, they weren't charged. It was like it was just confiscated and disposed of. So, that in high school is not something that doesn't need to happen. And maybe I'm wrong on the details. Maybe maybe I'm remembering this wrong, this was a while ago, but the memory I have of the situation was that unfair punishment, you know, lopsided for sure. And so there were a lot of kids who skipped school and protested across the street, you know, picket signs and all those things. And I was not among that group that did that. But I was part of a group that we rolled our pant legs up to a certain height. And it was, you know, kind of the country thing of rolling your pant legs up while you're wading into the water to do stuff. And it was, you know, just us symbolically saying, hey, you know, we stand with the kid who, you know, did this or whatever. And, you know, it's something that the silent protests, the nonviolent protests, a lot of them are, you know, constitutionally protected, but ultimately, if it's not hurting the wallet of the people who are being protested against, it's, you know, just going to be ignored for what it is. Like, you've got to have a very large body of individuals that are doing nonviolent protests for them to truly be effective. And like I said, I think the most effective ones are, like, you know, true blue boycotts, where if a company says or does something that is just outright wrong and everybody says, you know what, we're not going to buy your products anymore. The problem is coordinating something like that. And a lot of times there's just plenty of people who don't care and are going to continue to buy things. I'm not actively saying that there's particular companies that we currently need to be boycotting, although I'm sure there's plenty of companies that are doing things that I just personally don't like. And, you know, I choose not to spend my money there, but ultimately those companies don't need my money anyway. I think a lot of it comes into is, you know, just spreading messages on the, like, hey, this company is doing this, it's wrong, this is why I'm not going to spend money there. And more than just the I support the current thing mentality needs to happen. And it needs to be where people are going to organize and, you know, say, hey, we do not want another dollar going to this company, so that way they won't do X, or we don't want another dollar going to this organization because they are, you know, being, you know, whatever. I think if enough families had said, you know what, you're gonna treat a kid who, you know, was doing something dumb this way and not, you know, do the same thing to kids who are breaking federal law, then you know what, we're going to pack up and move to the other school district on the other side of town, and our tax dollars will go there. I think if enough families had done something like that, then that would have, you know, changed some perspectives of some people on the school board. You know, maybe a sit-in could have been organized, a school board meeting, but it would have had to been rather large. But all in all, at the end of the day, that's something that probably wasn't a huge deal in retrospect. There's a lot of better things that we can be spending our time saying, you know what, we don't support this. I wholeheartedly believe that until Jeffrey Epstein's client list is made public and the people who were on it are held accountable for their actions, that there's a lot of other things that, you know, in the grand scheme don't matter, because we're talking, you know, child trafficking that was going on at the highest level of society and government. And there's a few names that apparently are going to be becoming public soon. And I think that as a nation, we need to demand answers and say, if you don't make this client list public by, you know, this date, this time, and start trying people for these crimes, then, you know, because the FBI has all of the footage. They raided his office, his house, his island, and they took everything. So we, you know, our government knows, but they're choosing to protect people for whatever reason. You know, if that doesn't happen, then we need private citizens standing up and saying, you know what, this is unacceptable. So I think that's a good way to nonviolent protest, is we have enough people demanding those answers that eventually we'll either get it or people will step down. But yeah, go do hard things.